welcome to episode number 10 of the Heavy Duty Hub podcast. I'm Jeremy,
And I'm Chris.
and we're back again. I know it's been a couple weeks since we set our last episode out. We had the holidays. I had a lot of time off. Chris had some time off. And then the first of the year, oh my goodness. The first of the year has just been jam-packed. We've been so busy running around trying to catch up. So we're finally back into the studio, back recording again. So this will be episode 10, and hopefully we'll get back on track and get these out about every 2 weeks or so. Because again, this is what we enjoy. We love doing this. We love providing this for everybody in this industry. So today we thought we'd talk a little bit about some of the trade shows, and I just got back from HDAW, which was a pretty remarkable event. I had a lot of fun there. Saw a lot of people I haven't seen in years. So it was really a lot of fun catching up. And these industry events are so invaluable because not only do you learn about new technology, new things coming out, some of the new DMS systems that they have that they've updated, but you also make those connections. And those connections that you make, oh my goodness, they last for years. I've been in
Forever,
this industry.
typically.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
forever.
I've been in this industry. I'll start my 37th year in 2 weeks. And it was funny because walking around there, it was like being back in high school again, seeing some of the guys that, I kind of grew up in the industry with were there. So it was a lot of fun. We had a good time there.
That's fantastic. And just so everybody, too, I hope everybody had a great holiday. Happy New Year to everyone. Like Jeremy said, I know, we are pretty religious about getting two of these out a month, and we will get right back into that. Life is back to normal, but we're so excited because we've got some great topics that we are going to discuss this coming year, and we're going to have some really interesting guests that we'll be bringing on. As always, just remember too, if you like the content, like and subscribe. This really helps our channel grow, as well as gets us out to more people like yourselves that will really help increase what we do. So, and this, we love it. And hopefully each and every one of you has gotten something positive from one of our episodes. So, as Jeremy said, episode 10, looking forward to getting into these trade shows, especially HDAW today. So, Jeremy, I'll kick it off. I was not able to go due to a conflicting schedule, but I know you were. So, what was the best thing about the HDAW 2026 show that you thought? What was the main attraction?
The main attraction, again, it has to be the fact that you have all of the people from the industry in the same room at the same place, going out to dinner with them, going out to lunch with them, just being able to network the way you can network at these shows. We tease a lot in our industry. And of course, back in the day, I can say that not because I'm an old guy. Back in the day, you know, almost everything, all the deals were made either on the golf course or sitting at the bar or out at the steakhouse. And being able to interact with these people and really interact with them outside of their work environment, where they're more relaxed, more easygoing. It's so great getting to know these people on a personal level and getting to build these relationships. I've always been a firm believer in that. I've always said that if there's any kind of trade show, you need to be there. You need to be visible. You need to be making these connections. And it really, really came to the fore this week because, like I said, some of the people that were there I haven't seen in some of them 20, 30 years. So it was quite special making those connections again, rekindling them and making new ones too.
And you bring up a great point, right? When you think about how many truck dealerships there are in the US and how many trailer dealerships there are, just in the heavy duty industry, how many people are out there? There's a lot. But in reality, it is a very, very, very small, condensed community where everybody knows everybody. And
Yeah.
I think those kind of shows really reinforce that statement. I have run into people that I never thought I would see again, to your point, And it's almost like you see them, and it was like it was yesterday the last time you saw them. It's a brotherhood, so to speak, or sisterhood, however you want to describe it. So you identified what the best thing was. You know, what were some of your takeaways from the few days that you were there?
A lot of the takeaways were just the new technology. You know, the DMS providers that were there, and DMS, it's dealer management system. It's basically the computer system you use to run your business. In case anybody out there didn't know what DMS was, the DMS providers, some of the stuff that they're coming out with, that technology that they have, it's just really amazing. And being able to get a firsthand look at it, and actually they had setups where you could actually play with it and manipulate it, and kind of really see what it was capable of doing, and the technology in the field, of the parts, the service, the AI in our parts business and the service business. Some of the new technology is just mind blowing. And when you get to see it firsthand, some of it's still in beta testing, so it may be 6 months before it comes out, it may be a year, but just knowing something like that is on the horizon, it's really remarkable. In this industry, we've so long kind of done things the same way all the time, and everybody's kind of uniform in that. And to see this technology coming out and how fast it's coming out is really mind blowing.
Well, and to your point, right? I love from the standpoint, just like vehicle manufacturers, they want to have the latest and greatest so they can offer that to their customer base. But with DMSs now, especially in the last 12 months, there's been some consolidation with smaller DMSs being absorbed and purchased by others. So the choices are going away. But with that being said, that AI aspect that's coming in is unreal. It's scary on one hand, but it also potentially can make everyone's lives and the complexities behind, parts and service interacting together, or even those two departments with an accounting department, making it much more seamless, less chance of things going out of line. It's fascinating to me. I'm super excited.
Yeah, it really is. I tell you, it was not just this conference. Every conference that I've been to over the last few years in our industry, our industry is a very old industry. And when I say that, I mean it's old in the fact that you have a lot of people who have been in this industry for a very long time. You have a lot of tribal knowledge. Well, that tribal knowledge is starting to hit the age of retirement. They're moving on. They're not there anymore. And in our industry, it seems like almost every single dealership, parts house, warehouse, service shop, anywhere you go, it seems like there's one guy, and that one guy holds the keys to the kingdom. He's the one guy who knew everything. He knew how to work the computer system. He knew how to fix things when they broke down. He knew the codes you had to hit. He knew all the right buttons to push. Well, those guys are going away. And a big, big theme that I heard all week long was everybody kept saying how that there is a lot of product training. So here's my product. Here's the benefits of my product. Here's how you can sell my product. But what the industry is really lacking is training on how to do the job. For years and years, and we've talked about this before in one of our previous podcasts, your best technician automatically became your foreman, and your best foreman automatically became your service manager. Your best parts warehouse guy automatically became your next counter person. Your best counter person automatically became your manager. It didn't mean that they had any training or any knowledge on how to be a manager or how to be a parts person or how to be a foreman. It means they were the best guy you had. So you put them in that position, and they gleaned what they could, and they're doing the best that they can, but they've never officially had any true training of this is what's required to do the job. These are the reports that you have to look at. These are the things you need to monitor. They've just never had that.
Yeah. Well, and I think it goes back to something, and I'm not going to say I created this because I did not, but I've used it for a long time. And it's the question I always say to ask yourself, are you surviving or are you thriving? And to your point, you know, yeah, I've been the parts manager for 10 years, but I'm only as good as who's taught and showed me. And if they didn't show me fully the right way or the proper way to do things or to make my business really thrive, other than just kind of keeping it going the way it is, you know, I think if you can ask yourself that question, and if the answer is you're thriving, then keep doing it, but also be open and seeking out ways to make that even better, right?
Right.
But the flip side, if you said I'm just surviving, it's imperative that you've got to get to that next level. You've got to find a way to not just survive, but thrive.
Yeah.
Because the downside to just surviving is you're feeling overwhelmed, I'm sure, right? But also, what are your people feeling?
Yeah.
And you know, as every day moves and we have that experience, the power of the room, that tribal knowledge, as it starts to go away, what do we have left?
Right.
Nothing. So how do we find a way to make sure that we are making those people feel like they are still a big part of what we do, but then also bringing on that new inexperienced talent to try to mentor them using what we have from an experience level, but also look for different ways to develop and take that even further. I think that's where, you know, it's imperative, especially where we are right now in the state of our industry. You know, it's if we make that investment now, and I say the word investment from the standpoint of nothing that is worth anything is free. I hate to say that, you know, it sounds good. You feel great because it was free, but
Right.
you know, it's always there's a cost that brings value. Now, if the cost is there and no value is achieved from the cost, then yes, you're right. But that's where if we invest in ourselves now, we potentially could have a windfall of 10 times, 20 times, 100 times what that initial investment is, but we don't know unless we try. We really have to find a way in a slow or down market, as some people would say, to just find ways to get all of our opportunities, all of our people trained up because the truck industry, and I've been in it for about 20 years, you've beat me by probably double. I've always seen it since I've been in. You'll have a few years that dip a little, but every time it comes back, and it just doesn't come roaring back or just basic back, it comes roaring back.
Right.
It's back and bigger than it was before.
Yeah.
So getting everything working now when it's slower, that makes it so when that change in effect and everything comes back, you're not playing catch up. You're not behind. Your customers aren't outpacing what you can give and deliver.
Right.
You know, that's thriving. That's
Yeah.
not surviving. So,
But it's so funny because you know, obviously, we're in the business of training. We do exactly that. We go out and we train parts people, service advisors, service managers, parts managers, outside part sales. We train them how to do the job, how to do the day-to-day tasks, what reports are required, what do you monitor, what do you look at. And you know, it's funny because, like I said, every time I go to one of these events, you always hear that echoing everywhere. We need training, we need training, we need training. But then, like you say, it's like they're like, oh, wait a minute, that costs money. Ooh, hold up, and they pull back. And I always equate it to the fact of if I came up to you and I said, Chris, if you give me $10,000 right now, put $10,000 in my hand, I'm going to hand you 30,000 out of this hand. Here's my 30,000. You give me your 10, I'll give you 30. And how many people say no to that? It blows my mind. People say I need this. I've got to have it. My business is struggling. And we can prove that ROI. We can show them the ROI. And they still say, well, we can't right now because it's slow. And my argument is you have to right now because you're slow.
Yeah, I agree. You can't afford not to, right?
Right, right, right.
I equate it, and this is kind of strange, but maybe it doesn't work, maybe it does, but everything always used to be 1999. It's 1999. But when I look at that, that's not $20, that's $19. But in all intents and purposes, it's $20. But it's kind of the same thing. I look and see what that cost is, but I don't see that what that cost is going to bring me, and it's going to bring me way more than $19.
Right.
So it's understanding what really goes into that. ROI, ROV, return on investment, return on value. Those are two very important pieces of anything you do, right? Even in my personal life, if I'm buying a car, what is the return on the money I'm buying that car for? Does it equate? Does it make sense? Well, yes, it enables me to make a lot more money because I can go to work every day.
Right.
So, it's delving into it more than just looking at a number, but seeing really what that number is going to do for me. And then realizing, yes, it's a cost, but I can't afford not to do this because, I'm one person. If I can bring all of my people and get them to the next level and the next level, and if I make $1 now and I can get them to $3, what does that do for my business?
Yeah.
What does it do for my bank account?
Right.
I like that bank account. I'll tell you that
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. And that's, in this industry, and we've seen it time and time and time again. Number one, you're never going to be fully staffed. You're always going to be short somebody, and you're always going to end up losing somebody when you least expect it.
Yep.
It's just the way the industry is. It's the way it works. So, waiting until you're fully staffed or waiting until you have those perfect people, that's not going to happen. You need to put the foundation in place. You need to have it so when that person comes in as a new hire, it's already established. This is
Yep.
how the job is done. This is our process. This is our policy. This is our procedure. This is how we do things. You have to establish that. That way, when you bring those people in, everything just fits and it works. And you train them to that. You don't wait until you're fully staffed and perfect and then hope that you're still in business, number one, but hope that you're afloat enough to get to that point before training. You know, it's such a basic, essential part of the business, and it seems like it's the last place people want to put any kind of investment in.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, right? You have all these people, and I'll give an example of someone I know that they were in that same boat. We really want to wait until we get our team more in place before we make the investment. And I said, hey, what you don't realize is you might have other people that currently work for you that are teetering on that bubble of maybe wanting to not be there anymore and leave. But by bringing in this team, this investment to come in and really train your people and lay out what they need to do every day to kind of get rid of that craziness, the wildfires that pop up every day, that whirlwind, as we like to say. Not only do you potentially stave off them leaving, but now you also have your team that is now prepped. They know what they need to do. So when someone does leave in the future or comes in, you have a solid plan to bring that new person up to speed. They know what the expectation is day one, not,
Right.
hey, I'll train you down the line or 2 weeks from now or a month from now or 6 months from now. You can lay it all out. So, hey, this is your role. This is what your responsibilities are. This is what you need to do every day. But it also makes it so people don't necessarily feel overwhelmed because they go in and there's just pure chaos.
Yeah.
So,
But and that's another thing that people don't really pay attention to is, let's say you do have that manager or that person in charge, whatever position you're in, that has that tribal knowledge, and they leave. Well, they've been there for a certain amount of time and they've ran things a certain way for a certain amount of time. And like we talked about, there's no training in this industry currently, except for the few people like us that do it. So when you bring in that new person or that new manager, that new person in charge, they're going to do things the way they did it where they used to work.
yep,
So it doesn't mean that they're doing it correctly. They're doing it the way they used to do it because that's what they know. So now
yep,
you've got all these people that have been here for, 3, 4, 10, 15 years, and they've been doing it a certain way. And now you got a new manager and we're doing it different because he said so. It's not because, hey, this is the way it's supposed to be done, and here's the 14 things that I can show you as to why and what it affects and what it impacts and what makes this the correct way of doing things. It's we're going to do it my way because that's the way I know. So
yep,
that creates a lot of friction too. And as you said, we've seen it before. They bring that person in, they lose some good people because they don't want to do that.
yep. You are 100% correct. And this wise person once told me, going way back, that just because you know how to do everything the right way, if you go somewhere new, it doesn't mean you need to come in and do that immediately because of, to your point exactly, right? Now you're going to really upset the apple cart, so to speak. So maybe you start with one or two things, and you
Mhm.
might know who this person is, just so you know. Wink, wink, nod, nod. But just with that being said, you come in and, hey, I'm going to lay out, we're going to make one change, not 10, even though they might need it. And that kind of goes along the line of what we do. A phased in approach to anything, I think, is a much better, more receptive environment than you come in and you just have a hand grenade, you pull the pin and you chuck it in and run away, and then you pick up the pieces.
Right.
We want structure. We don't want to overwhelm anybody, but we know if we have to make changes, which most dealerships do. So, that's that fine line. Whereas, how do you know if you do it? And, a lot of dealers are always like, you know what, this didn't work. We're going to do this. I'm going to try it and see how it does. So the question I ask you, every dealer, even several I've worked for over the years, that's what we always did. Now we can do it better. Why doesn't that work?
Because they don't have the fundamentals. They don't have the fundamentals. They have not done it. It's like you said, hey, we're going to try this, we're going to try that. I tease all the time. You know me, and everybody probably gets sick of hearing me say it. Fact, math, and logic. Whether it's the service department, parts department, sales department, accounting, fact, math, and logic. You can't argue with those three things. It's not my opinion. It's not something that I thought of. It's not something that Chris Norris thought of. It's these are the facts. If you do one, it's going to lead to number two, and that's going to lead to number three, and that's going to lead to number four. It's facts, math, and logic. You have to have that base and establish that base. And I equate it to, think about when you were growing up. How did you learn the best? Was it when you did something and your dad came up and smacked you in the back of the head and said, don't do it that way, do it this way? Or was it when he came up and said, hey, you know what, that didn't work. Here's why it didn't work. Here's what you have to do to make it work. And here's the reason why you do it that way. Okay, now you get it. Now you understand. Now you know that there's other things affected by this action or this, train of events. There's a purpose behind it, and there's a reason behind it. And that's what needs to be established. We need to come in and establish that reason, that purpose, that fact, math, and logic behind the department. And it's funny because heavy duty truck, heavy duty trailer, heavy duty equipment, OEM, aftermarket, car, it doesn't matter. It's the same principle.
Yes.
Got to fix the foundation.
Yes. But you've also got to feed the foundation the right stuff first.
Exactly.
But it's funny because I was at an engagement this past week, and we brought that up numerous times. Excuse me, I brought it up numerous times that we just talked about limiting emotion, eradicating emotion from inventory decisions,
Mm-hmm.
and really going in hard and trusting the facts, math, and logic, to trust the data, make data-based decisions. Don't just go on my gut. I think I feel. Because
Right.
it always leads down a road that you almost never win. Play the odds, right? If I put $1 on black at the roulette wheel and every section on that wheel is black except for one, there's a pretty good chance I'm going to make my money back and then some. That's the data.
Yeah.
Now, if you put $1 on black and there's no black on the wheel, it's just your gut, it feels good,
Yeah.
it's not going to end well. So just looking at it from a simple standpoint, right? Now we know that's not realistic, but in all honesty, that's what people are doing when they use emotion to make inventory based decisions without data.
Yeah.
You're just
Yeah. You're shooting yourself in the foot. It's not just inventory. It's anything in a dealership.
yes,
Just
100%.
anything. When you
Yep.
rely on that gut feeling or that emotion, it goes sideways every time.
In 2 seconds. So, well, if you can believe it, we are out of time yet again. We went a little long on this one. Exciting times.
Yeah, we like talking a lot. Well, I tell you what, though, like Chris said earlier in the podcast, we've got some really good material coming up. We've got some really good guests coming up this year. So I think everyone will really enjoy what we have coming up. So hopefully everybody will continue to tune in. Please send us any of your questions, comments, especially if you have a topic that you want us to address. Please send that to us and we'll talk about it. And please, as Chris is going to say, like and subscribe.
Yes. How did you know? How did you know that's what I was going to do? Yeah, guys, just help us grow this channel. The feedback we've gotten has been fantastic. There's
Yeah.
nothing out there in this space really at all that goes into the level and topics that we discuss, as well as we are an open resource for all of you. If there's something specific that you've not heard us discuss or something we have that you want more information on, we gladly will do that. Just send us an email. I will have all the links to our website, our contact emails, as well as key advisors on there for you as always. So just like, subscribe, click the links. If you ever have a question, thank you guys. Please just ask, but just reach out. We are here to help you and make your lives a lot easier. So thank you so much for watching. And that's all we have. See you on the next one, episode 11.
Yeah, everyone.
Bye, everyone.